Good, good. Okay, very good. We'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. At this point, I'd like to request a roll call from our clerk.
Fusco.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Connor. Boys.
Aye.
Hannah.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to receive a motion to approve the minutes of the previously held meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, that passes as well. We will have 3 public hearings today. The procedure, in essence, will be the clerk of council will read in the requests. After that, we will then receive a report from the planning department. Upon completion of that, we will then ask our clerk, Sarah Biviano, to swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee, either on Zoom or here in person. And then we'll open up the public hearing portion and receive any testimony one would have. We request that you provide for us your name and address. Upon completion of the public hearing, we will then open up to questions from the committee members and then all of council. We'll repeat that procedure again today at 5 o'clock. The only differences, significant differences, is that we will, in fact, make a recommendation to all of council, either in favor, against, or to take time to table an item. So those are the procedures for the public hearings today. And with that, I will ask Ms. Biviano, will you please read in the first item that's up for a public hearing? Thank you.
The first item up for public hearing is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to replace a static billboard with a digital billboard at 236 Annandale Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Lamar Advertising desires to replace the aging static billboard on the site with a new digital billboard. The current billboard is located near the southwest corner of the property, roughly 10 feet from the East Exchange Street right-of-way. 4 steel posts support 3 static poster displays, 2 west-facing and 1 east-facing, totaling 728 square feet in area. The aging structure would be removed and replaced with a new west-facing digital display in the same location. The display would measure 21.5 feet in height and width for 462 square feet in area. It would be supported by a steel monopole column 30 inches in diameter and would reach an overall height of 34 feet above grade. Petitioner states that the digital display brightness would adjust to the surrounding ambient light and would meet federal guidelines for lighting standards. The messages displayed will support local businesses as well as communicate public service announcements such as Amber Alerts, weather emergencies, and missing persons. The zoning code establishes the development requirements for advertising displays permitted as a conditional use, and this proposal meets most of those. The zoning code does, however, state that a billboard should meet the building setback requirement, which would be approximately 34 feet at this location. The portion of East Exchange Street, however, is characterized by large commercial and industrial buildings placed at or very near the street line, consistent with typical urban form, requiring a deep setback as opposed to the 10 feet in this case, would divert drivers' attention further away from the street and would be inconsistent with the current streetscape. The zoning code also sets a minimum distance of 1,000 feet between outdoor advertising displays. A static double-sided 4-poster display is 625 feet to the east, and a second static double-sided 4-poster display is located 725 feet to the west. The planning staff is of the opinion that it would be better to allow the replacement of the existing static display with a single-sided digital display than to allow the current structure to remain indefinitely. The new billboard would only be oriented towards State Route 8 to the west rather than toward Mason Community Learning Center and a neighborhood to the east. The digital display would also serve as a better medium to communicate messages in a timely manner when necessary. The proposed display is along a major arterial and is compatible with the commercial and industrial development in this area. At a height of 34 feet and 10 feet from the street line, the billboard should not impose on neighboring uses and should contribute to a vibrant business environment by providing an efficient means for local businesses to communicate with consumers. And both the Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, I'd like to ask our clerk, Sarah Biviano, to please swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee today.
If you're here to provide testimony for this public hearing, could you please raise your right hand? I know we have somebody online as well. I see you. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Biviano. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing portion and ask if there's anyone wishing to testify before the committee. If you could please provide for us your name and address. Thank you. I believe we have Jennifer Balish online here. Yeah, you're welcome to make any comments that you wish at this time.
I don't really have any comments, just if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. Everything was explained in the previous report, so if anyone has any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Could you please provide for us your name and address for the
Sure,
record?
Jennifer Baelish, 12222 Plaza Drive, Parma, Ohio, 44130.
Very good, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify referencing the conditional use for a static billboard, for a digital billboard to replace a static billboard at 236 Annandale Avenue? Anyone wishing to testify, either in favor or against? Anyone? Okay, we're not hearing anyone, so therefore we'll close the public comment portion of this and open it up to any committee members who may or may not have any questions. Mr. Hanna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This area has been a blighted area for a long time, and with the demolition of Atlantic Foundry, I think this will bring other businesses or give them the opportunity to look at this area and bring more businesses into this area. So I'm 100% in favor of the digital billboard.
Thank you. Anyone else from the committee? Anyone else on council wishing to make any comments? Okay, very good. Hearing none, we'll now move on to the second item. Ms. Biviano, could you please read that in?
The second item up for public hearing is an ordinance amending, supplementing Title 15, Chapter 153, Zoning Code, Article 6, Development and Area District Requirements, Section 153.310, Business and Industry Requirements, by changing signage requirements within the Kenmore Urban Overlay Area and declaring an emergency.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. The City of Akron is proposing to amend the zoning code requirements regarding signage in the Kenmore Urban Overlay Area. The proposed changes would align the district with sign standards applied in other recently adopted form-based districts within the city and enable businesses located within the Kenmore Urban Overlay Area to install projecting signs over the right-of-way on their facades by right with reasonable form-based design standards. Projecting signs are a desirable type of business identification because they contribute to the visual interest and overall character of the neighborhood. Currently, signs projecting over the right-of-way require Board of Zoning Appeals approval. Projecting signs are featured prominently among several Kenmore businesses, the Night Owl, the Guitar Department, Live Music Now, and Serena Tea House. Permission to place these signs was appealed by business owners to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and those signs were approved. It's anticipated that more businesses will want projecting signs to conform to the look and feel of this Kenmore business corridor. The new form-based code standards would allow a total area for flush-mounted wall and projecting signs not to exceed 1.5 square feet per lineal foot of building frontage, or 32 square feet, whichever is greater. The maximum size for an individual projecting sign would be 50 square feet. Projecting shingle signs that are smaller, about 10 square feet, would also be allowed. The purpose of the Kenmore Urban Overlay Area is to promote and enhance a vibrant, walkable business corridor with traditional storefronts placed at the sidewalk. The proposed text changes will allow building signage to help achieve this goal. The signage requirements will conform to the form-based signage allowances recently approved for the business districts within the Merriman Valley and Summit Lake areas. In all other areas of the city that have not been updated with the form-based code, projecting signs will still be held to the current zoning code standards. And Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval, subject to conditions. Thank you.
We'll now open up the public hearing portion. And first, what we'll do is we'll ask if there's anyone here wishing to testify referencing the conditional use request or whatever this is. Viviano? Anyone?
Is there anyone here to participate in this public hearing? We did not have anybody sign up online for this one, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. With this, we'll ask if there's anyone wishing to testify. Anyone wishing to testify? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion. Open up to any committee members who may have questions. Any committee? Yes. Ms. Boyce?
Thank you. So I don't have a question, but I just wanted to further elaborate since this was a project that when I was with the Community Development Corporation there came up several times. We had folks who wanted to do some smaller shingle style hanging signs that would be very cost effective and exactly in the nature of what the district calls for. However, the time and effort needed to go through zoning appeals and pay a sign company to represent them oftentimes doubled the cost of a small sign that would have been, super effective had they been able to implement it themselves. So from my perspective, this is a very good thing. I do understand we've had some communication that some larger signs may still require, especially the internally lit ones that are large, similar to some that you mentioned, Mr. Antonucci, would still require some conversation and the conditional use process, which I think is a good thing because, a small shingle sign is one thing, but something large and, maybe not reviewed by professionals outside of maybe the sign company is not necessarily something the neighborhood would want either. So I'm pleased to say that we've built a nice group of folks on the Kenmore District Committee that are knowledgeable about architecture and facades and are able to assist the business owners gratis mostly. So I would just say that I am very supportive of this and those that I represent as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Okay, not hearing any or seeing any. My only question would be the difference between like a BZA appeal and if it would go to city council. How can you explain that?
Right, so currently, any kind of sign that projects out, regardless of the size, even if it's the size of a projecting sign that would work, if it wasn't over the right-of-way, would need Board of Zoning Appeals approval. So anything over the right-of-way now automatically, regardless of the size, requires Board of Zoning Appeals, which means, going through the process and all that. In this case, if signs were, for instance, oversized, like over 50 square feet, for instance, or exceeding that 1.5 square feet per linear frontage for the tenant space, then it would need a conditional use approval, just because it's oversized and it doesn't conform to the current code. But we're trying to streamline the zoning code to go into, the form-based model in the neighborhoods where we've already, initiated that, to apply that to the Kenmore district as well, because everything is right up there at the street, and so folks are wanting those projecting signs, and they fit in well with the neighborhood, so.
Mm-hmm. So the the significant change here is just what? Please
It's just
explain that for all of us.
Right, just to allow a nicely sized sign to project over the right-of-way, out, over the sidewalk.
Out over the sidewalk?
Right.
Okay. Which then would not need to go to BZA? Or would it need to go?
That's correct. It would not need to go to BZA. It would be permitted by right.
Okay, and that's based on the frontage of the building?
Yes, we still have size requirements
yeah.
and standards, and that's all in our form-based zoning now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're basically just applying that form-based zoning model to the Kenmore urban overlay.
Okay, very good. Thank you for everyone here. I think I kind of assumed what it was, but I didn't want everyone else to take that. The other question is so whenever this is, say for example, whenever because I assume we're going to want to do this all over the city, how is it that city council will be informed whenever there's an application taken?
Well, I would have to say that if, for instance, if somebody's applying for a building permit and we see that it meets code, that obviously the council's adopted for an area. If it meets code, it's going to be a by right, which means it'll be a sign-off. It's not going to be something that will necessarily need to come through for city council.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, very good, thank you. The third item that is up for public hearing today?
The third item is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct an addition at 134 Western Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. The Halo Foundation of Akron is requesting permission to construct a 1,008 square foot expansion to the north end of their existing building within a two-family residential district. The Halo Foundation of Akron was founded in 2003 as a not-for-profit organization to honor the heroes of Flight 93 during the events of September 11, 2001. Halo Foundation exists to develop students as service leaders by recognizing specific overlooked needs in the community and illuminating the selfless examples of the heroes of Flight 93 as their model. They're seeking to expand their space on Western Avenue so they may have a larger area to be used for storage of donations and the packaging of items. They also desire to utilize the space as a workroom for the assembly of gift baskets that are auctioned at fundraisers held throughout the community. The expansion will extend directly from the northernmost section of the existing building with a footprint of 42 feet by 24 feet. It will continue to maintain the 15-foot distance from the west property line and a 12-foot distance from the northern property line. It will be constructed to a height of 15 feet with a hipped roof. Roof shingles and siding will match the existing building. A parking lot for 11 vehicles will continue to serve the property, and existing dense landscaping will continue to be maintained except for the 5 feet pine trees along the western property line that have overgrown the site. The addition will be harmonious with the existing structure and neighboring properties and will allow the foundation to conduct their programs more efficiently. And both planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, if there's anyone wishing to testify before the committee, please be sworn in by our clerk, Sarah Biviano.
Sir, you've already been sworn in. You can approach the podium. Was there anyone else that wanted to provide testimony for this item?
Very good. Not hearing any. We'll now open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone wishing to testify. If you could please provide for us your name and address. Thank you.
Yes, my name is William Berger. My address is 1477 Edgemore Avenue in Akron. I am one of the partners in the owner of the property. I am also a registered architect, and so I am the architect of record on the project. I've worked at this location since 1993. With my partner, we purchased this building in 2014, so we've been there 10 years. We enjoy being a part of the community there, and I'm just here to answer any questions that anyone may have. There are two clarifications I think that I'd like to make. Is our current building actually sits on part of it, about 10 feet, sits on the residential property in question. So we already have a conditional use. We're just asking to expand that use. So.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify, either in favor or against? Anyone? Very good. We'll close up the public hearing portion. Ask if there's any council members that may have any questions or comments on the committee. Any council members at all with questions or comments? Ms. Linda Moby.
Sorry about that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
No problem.
Just curious, were all the neighbors notified? Were there any concerns expressed from anyone in the neighborhood?
Yes. Neighbors were notified by mail. We did actually, I spoke to the neighbor immediately to the north last week and actually had some correspondence earlier this morning. The concern was stormwater management and drainage, and I assured her that in order to move forward with the building permit, that they will need to address stormwater management. It'll be essentially reviewed by engineering for that. So we'll have to make sure that the stormwater and the water is draining to the proper place. So, but those were the comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Antonucci, is that northern property, is that two-family?
It is. That's within a two-family district.
Yeah, I was just curious. It looked like it was. Very good. Any further questions or comments? Okay, with that, we'll invite you back this evening at 5 o'clock if you'd like to show up, or if you'd like to Zoom in, please contact our clerk and or anyone back in the office area. You're welcome to do that as well. But at 5 o'clock, again, what we'll do is we'll have another public hearing on this particular item, all three of these items, and we'll solicit comment through the public hearing process, and the committee will make a recommendation to all of council, again, either in favor, against, or to table an item and take time. So those are the procedures. Thank you again for coming down. Appreciate it. And with that, we'll move on to the balance of the agenda. And I'm going to say that we're probably going to move into the new list of legislation, take time on the regular list. And the first item that is up for a public hearing, Ms. Biviano, could you please read in for the record?
Item number 3 in new legislation is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Bounce Innovation Hub for impacted small business assistance and support and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Thank you. I see we have two members of the administration here with us, Susie Graham-Moore, Mr. Wheeler. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the committee. These are actually 3 pieces of legislation that are intersecting. We are working with these 3 designated organizations, Bounce Innovation Hub, the Akron Urban League, and Western Reserve Community Fund, to basically provide additional capacity building with all 3 organizations so that they can serve more small businesses. This is one of the ways that the city is using ARPA dollars to ensure that our small businesses have the supports available to them to help them recover from the impacts of the pandemic and also build and strengthen their businesses moving forward. These 3 organizations will be working with the city of Akron and along with myself, as well as Latonda Mobley, who is our Great Streets Coordinator, so that we can coordinate the services that are being provided to small businesses, ensure that they're not duplicative, but then also be able to move along with the small businesses through the life of their business. And it's quite possible intersecting with them multiple times through each of these organizations and the great work that they do. With us today is Lynn Puryear. She is the VP of Entrepreneurship and Operations at the Akron Urban League, and Rachel Bridenstine, the Executive Director of Western Reserve Community Fund, who are also here to help explain a little bit more about the services that they provide and how this support will be deployed into our community.
Very good. Thank you. Please, you're welcome to please push the little button there. And if you have any comments whatsoever, we'd be more than happy to hear from you both.
Absolutely. So again, thanks for having me, Lynn Puryear, Akron Urban League. Our Entrepreneurship Center has been in existence for 20 years, and we serve through the state of Ohio, not only African-American owned businesses, but women-owned and veteran-owned businesses. And the goal of this funding is to really just build capacity within our organization. We recognize that 8 out of 10 African-American owned businesses fail within year 1. A lot of that has to do with not necessarily being set up correctly on the forefront or on the front end. And our goal is to basically use this funding to help us make sure that they have everything that they need around setting up their financials correctly, the certifications that will help them get access to capital, and really just to make sure that we're holding their hands, getting them everything that they need so that they can be successful. We are going to be able to, right now we serve around 800 businesses a year. Of those 800, we have about 300 new businesses that come through our doors every year, and we really want to slow that down and be more intentional around supporting those that come in so that their businesses can grow. I don't know if there are any specific questions that you might have, but that's pretty much what we do at the Urban League.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Rachel Bridenstine, Executive Director of Western Reserve Community Fund. Just as a side note, too, it's a kind of under the mothership of Development Finance Authority at Summit County. Western Reserve Community Fund is a community development financial institution, which is a certification through U.S. Treasury, and was started in 2019 to help fill the gap of access to capital with a focus on small businesses, nonprofits, how we are investing more in our community on not as much of the larger scale projects, but smaller, because that's just as impactful for small businesses specifically. So in that time, we have put out over $9.5 million into the community. Majority of those loans, 76% to be exact, have gone to minority-owned businesses, specifically Black-owned businesses. And then about 50% women-owned businesses have been recipients. And then some other added pieces is that we look at first-time accessing commercial credit. So we're not a competitor with banks. We want to help encourage businesses to get that first access to a loan and then move into accessing it from banks as well. So about 30 to 40% are first-time accessing commercial credit, which is a big deal as well. Startups are at 30% of our portfolio as well. One of the beauties of this initiative that we're working together is we've already been working with the Urban League, working with Bounce Innovation Hub, but this formalizes and gives us all access to greater capacity through professional service provision as well. So we all know that a lot of the keys to supporting small businesses specifically is access to capital, but then also the access to technical assistance or professional services, accounting, marketing, legal, et cetera, that this will really help us be able to offer more to the people that we're serving. Happy to answer any other questions as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you both.
And then Jessica Sublett was unable to join us today. She had a conflict, but some of the work of Bounce, or most of the work of Bounce, will be in the contracting of those professional services that Rachel just mentioned. And so we'll be working hand in hand, back and forth between these three organizations and the city to ensure that wherever a small business might enter into the pipeline, whether it's with Lynn over at the Urban League, or if Tanda should happen upon a business owner that she speaks with in one of the Great Streets initiatives, that we are all speaking together. We're all working together to support each individual business along their journey.
Very good. Thank you. Open it for any questions or comments from any committee members. Mr. Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to know, how do you recruit small businesses to take advantage of the ARPA funds?
So at the Urban League, we look at it a couple of different ways. We have a number of businesses that we're working with already, where we're supporting them, and through our business counseling, we have an understanding of what their financial need might be. And so having those conversations, meeting with them, we have an understanding there. However, we also are intentional in going out into the community and recognizing what businesses may need assistance that don't already do business with the Urban League. And so we have a recruitment effort that goes out, but we also have the folks that are already doing business with us in our database that we interact with and engage with on a monthly basis.
And I would add to that, Lynn, thank you so much. Just starting Wednesday. Yeah, this Wednesday will be the first Wednesday that LaTonda Mobley will be out, starting in each of the Great Streets districts. rotating on a weekly basis, spending time, she spends 3 hours there, and oftentimes makes those warm handoffs to different members of this group. So Tonda, I don't know if you want to share more about that?
Absolutely. As we are engaging our Great Streets districts, is that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
As we engage our Great Streets district business owners and property owners, that's one of the best ways to make sure that our business owners are informed about the resources that are available to them. We also engage with them through different networking events around the city and through word of mouth. So a lot of grassroots communications efforts will be moving forward.
I would also like to add that these 3 pieces of legislation are designed as beneficiary agreements. So under this, the federal treasury, the U.S. Treasury, allows us to enter into beneficiary agreements to support the nature of their business. So this goes on to support their existing framework as well.
Thank you.
If I may add to the question,
Yes.
with marketing specifically, part of the capacity building that these dollars will bring are our organizations being able to do more marketing. And I'm speaking from Western Reserve specifically. We have one of the positions is an education and development officer that's going to be interacting more within our community to talk about what we all have to offer.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you all. Yes?
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Boyes?
So, Latanda, you mentioned working specifically with the business owners in the Great Streets districts. How are you engaging the CDCs who have the relationships with the businesses?
As I can, I meet with each different CDC and speak with their president or vice president. And I let them all know about our canopy tours, our conversations each Wednesday within each district, so they're aware of the schedule they're in. They're also aware of the resources available. I also work directly with each of these entities through Bounce and our Spark group to make sure that all of the resource providers, as well as CDCs and neighborhood organizations, are aware of the things that are available to the business owners within their areas.
Are you doing the tour together when possible?
Everyone is welcome to join the tour.
Perfect, thank you. I did have one other question.
Yes.
I quickly wrote down some of the technical assistance available as marketing and accounting resources, and I know that's a struggle for small businesses and small nonprofits that support small businesses. So tell me about what that looks like. Are you actually who is performing the marketing services for the businesses, or are you teaching them to market?
So it's a combination. At the Urban League, what we do is that, so it is accounting, it is definitely marketing, his human resources, and really just depending upon what other kind of professional service they may need, we bring those professional service providers into the fold. And it's either we do group sessions, one-on-one sessions, and if it is a one-on-one, or if someone raises their hand when they're talking with their business counselor, then we, working with Bounce, will figure out which is the best professional service provider to team them up with.
And if I can add in here, similarly from the financial standpoint, we all do some things to an extent of offering that education in-house, but there's certain levels, right? We cannot be the accountants for each of our clients. And so this is an opportunity that we haven't had before, being able to have access to funds to bring in, like Lynn said, bringing other professionals that we can say, okay, here, free of charge to a business, go see so-and-so that's an accountant that we vetted before, and they can access that free of charge.
Just a quick follow-up, is that an ongoing thing, or is that just a warm handoff and then the business provides?
It's ongoing.
Oh,
So there's
interesting.
tracking involved with this as well. We are also working with a third-party evaluation consultant that is going to be working or interviewing and having sessions with each business owner that we work with, seeing how the process was, and so that we can show an indicator of what does it mean to have three organizations that do different things but can work more closely together to offer more service to our businesses. What does that mean? How is that creating more wealth in our neighborhoods as well? Like long-term, but what are the key indicators right now through our work over the next 18 months?
Awesome, thank you.
And if I can add one other thing that I failed to mention, one thing that this funding helps us with as well is we are able to hire a financial coach that really helps us or helps the business at the ground level understand what documentation they need, how their business should be set up, connect them with a lending or a bank so that they can start banking personally and business banking separate. So we're really looking at all of those things, and this funding helps us with that business or that financial coach piece of it.
Thank you. Ms. Mobian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I talked with Susie earlier, and I really thank the presenters for coming, because we've been talking about Elevate Akron for a long time now, and it appears that we are making some inroads. And I think what my question would be, and as a follow-up to a number of questions that Tina has asked already, is how do we take this show kind of on the road so more people can become aware of the resources? I invited myself to Urban League last year and had a wonderful presentation by their staff on their other programs where they're doing a lot of the hand-holding and providing a lot of the service and assistance that people need. But it would be nice if we had some way of doing some kind of, it doesn't have to be a job fair, it could be a information fair, something in different parts of the city, and have some of the providers, the owners of these businesses, to also showcase how they have been helped. So that other people can see that there's help available. Because I like all the things you've talked about, because a lot of times people start businesses and they don't start them the right way, or they intermingle them with their personal finances and all kinds of things. So helping them understand how to set it up and then hold their hands while they're going through. So I appreciate this presentation, but I think and it could be marketing, it could be informational sessions, it could be a number of things, but more than just a one-time kind of thing, something that's more regular so that people can visit and see what's happening in the community, because I think that would be extremely helpful in having people understand all the things that are available. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. If I can just speak to that. So what we are doing in terms of communication, every Wednesday from May 15th through August, I will be in the communities in a different Gray Streets district. We will have marketing materials that will be physical marketing materials that will also have QR codes for those who prefer a digital communication to speak to those things. As we do this, because we are breaking down our silos and making sure that we are communicating with each of these partners, we will continue to watch these businesses grow and push the communication in every way that we can. So our hope is to reach multiple generations, not just those who are business owners, but those who are related to potential entrepreneurs and business owners as well.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Further questions or comments? Mr. Hanna. I'm sorry, hello? Sharon Conner, go ahead.
Just when you come to the neighborhoods for the Great Streets interaction with the businesses, could you make sure we're informed so that we can be part of those conversations also?
Absolutely. I will be sending out reminder emails this week, and you will all receive the calendar for the tour. It's already been set and approved through Lori Shinvey.
Perfect. We'll look forward to it.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Hanna.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is, will there be any additional Great Streets in the coming years? And what is the criteria to be a Great Street? Because in my neighborhood, and I'm speaking from my neighborhood, I would like for my street that I live on to be a great street. So I don't know how the great streets were chosen, but I live in an area where there are many businesses and there needs to be an upgrade in that area. So I would like to know what's the criteria to be a great street and who chose those streets? Thank you.
The Great Streets were chosen by the previous administration, and we are currently working on the forward-moving criteria for Great Streets and how we select new Great Streets. So as we come upon those answers, we'll be happy to give them to you.
Thank you.
And I would also add to that, so the Great Streets canopy tours that Tonda mentioned, those are a way that we get that information out into those business districts that are specified as part of those programs. But that's not to say that we wouldn't be able to do an event or some kind of like a pop-up event in another area. So certainly let us know, and we can bring Julie from our team and make an event in those locations as well.
Very good. That was my question, basically, is this citywide or just Great Streets, or within just the certified census tracts, what have you? I don't recall off the top of my head the name, but, or is it citywide?
So it would be it's a citywide program, and there are qualifying characteristics to use ARPA funding. One of those is that business needs to demonstrate that they were impacted by the pandemic. A qualified census tract is another attribute that might be used to describe a potential candidate for the program.
Okay. So some census tracts will not qualify based on that? Because that was a concern that was brought a couple of years ago. Whenever this was first rolled out, I recall a council member talking about Market Street. It was like one side of Market Street was in play and one part was not in play. And, you know, it just makes you kind of, I understand, but for a program like this, it seems as though, you know, it would benefit, because there is minority-owned businesses, there is women-owned businesses, you know, in different areas of the city. So, but it has to be in the qualified census district, right?
A qualified census tract would be able to show impact from the pandemic.
Okay.
So there are, within the agreement, there are specific ways that we can use ARPA dollars, but they must comply with one of those characteristics.
Okay, then secondly, and maybe having that information for us to share that, especially for the council members to be able to share with their constituents, the business community, you know, this is what we're looking at, you know, so that they can push it out to their contacts. And what is the definition of a small business per the ARPA funds?
Yeah.
It is a business that has I believe it is 500,000 or less in revenue,
Okay.
and under, I want to say 100 employees? Yes.
Okay, I thought the 100 was the number, but I didn't want to say. I'd rather the experts tell us. So good, that's good for everybody here, I believe, here on City Council, that we would benefit from that information. Thank you. And with that, any further questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. We will, but we have to read in the other ones. I'd like for all council, not everyone's here, I'd like to recommend we take time, at least 1 week or so on this, and then we'll talk about it next week, and then hopefully ask for a vote then, okay? Is there a recommendation to refer this item? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Very good, the ayes have it. Thank you. Second item, Ms. Viviano.
Item number 4 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or
Thank you.
contracts with Akron Community Service Center and Urban League, doing business as Akron Urban League, for impacted small business assistance and support and declaring an emergency.
Very good. Is there a recommendation to refer this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Very good, the ayes have it. Item number 5, I believe.
Item number 5 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Western Reserve Community Fund, Inc. for impacted small business assistance and support and declaring an emergency.
Very good, thank you. Is there a recommendation to refer this item?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Very good, the ayes have it. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is an ordinance appointing Councilman Brad McKittrick to the Akron-Bath-Copley Joint Township Hospital District Board and declaring an emergency.
Very good. Any questions or comments? Mr. McKittrick? No, thank you. Okay. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Is there a recommendation for suspension of the rules so that we could get Mr. McKittrick started?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, the ayes have it. Thank you. Again, I'd like to ask for a vote on the 3 items under new legislation here. If there's any questions or comments, please forward those to Susie Graham Moore or myself. We'll get those answered in a timely fashion. And I think you heard that we want to partner with you. This is a great program. It's good to see that we're reaching out to those small businesses. We may have had some other conversations about helping small businesses post-pandemic in the past. Some have worked. So we'd love to see this take off. So thank you. Thank you. With that, we're adjourned.
For you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. May I have a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting?
I'll take it later.
Motion to accept minutes?
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion. Thank you so much. We have 2 items coming before us today. Item number 13. We have no old business to attend to. We have 2 items under new legislation. Item number 13 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract with the Akron Public Schools to provide meal preparation and delivery service as part of the city's annual summer food service program and declaring an emergency. And we have Mr. Lash.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of council. This is a pleasure to bring this legislation before you. This is our annual summer lunch program, and I brought my colleagues, Brittany Schmokel, to speak on this program and give you insights as to what we're doing this summer.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee and members of council. So the Summer Food Service Program is a federally funded, state-administered program. The goal is to serve free breakfast and lunches to kids throughout the summer, and the program is reimbursed through the USDA and the Ohio Department of Education. Our program will run June 10th through August 2nd, and it will be open to all children under the ages of 18. And we will operate at approximately 12 sites throughout the summer. This request is to continue the partnership with Akron Public Schools. The city will serve as the sponsor of the program, and Akron Public Schools will serve as the food service provider. So we look forward to continuing to serve healthy meals this summer, and I also have Robert Dodell with me, who oversees the program for the city.
Any questions you have, we will entertain. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Hanna.
Where are these schools located at? You said it's 12 of them? Okay, are these junior high and grade schools? Or?
The sites that we will be offering are community center sites, and then APS will also be offering their own sites to the programming that they're offering for their students.
Good, Mr. Lombardi.
Thank you, Madam
Sorry.
Chair. I think one of the obvious, since Patterson Park is being rebuilt, do you know where that distribution will be, or new location would be?
We will be working at the Benson House as well as Cascade Village for the north side of Akron.
Okay, Benson House and Cascade Village?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And just to follow up from my end, with Reservoir Park under construction, I assume Cyberlink School would be the location in that neighborhood?
Yes, for the Akron Public Schools.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions, comments? Mr. Lombardo, do you have a follow-up?
No, I don't.
Oh, your mic
Sorry.
is on, that's all. All right, Mr. Lash, what's your pleasure?
Suspension of the rules will be fine.
May we have a motion for suspension of the rules?
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll do that for you tonight. Our second item is item number 14. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of public advertising for bids with Tuesday Musical Association to provide professional services for the management of the Heinz Pole Summer Dance Festival and declaring an emergency. Mr. Marsh.
Madam Chair, members of council, we're pleased to bring this legislation before you. This is our annual Heinz Pole Summer Dance Festival that the community has grown to love. It's been a tradition throughout the years, and we have our partner, Ms. Jane Startzman, to speak on behalf of the program.
Thank you.
Yes.
Never done this before, sorry. Thank you. I'm the director of the Heinz Pole Summer Dance Festival, and the first thing I wanted to tell you is this is going to be our 50th anniversary year. So that's wonderful, and I guess I can say I've been around since year one. I was a dancer in year one, so can't believe it. The Heinz Pole Summer Dance Festival has been established to honor the legacy of the legendary Heinz Pole by continuing the tradition of free public performances in outdoor park settings by respected dance companies. It is a gift of the performing arts by the city of Akron to the people of Greater Akron and Northeast Ohio. We have the largest dance audience in Northeast Ohio and arguably the whole of Ohio, averaging about 7,000 people each summer who come from over 7 Ohio counties as well as from outside the region and state, making the festival an important feature of the Akron arts and cultural landscape, promoting healthy economic growth and helping to establish Akron as a mecca for arts and culture and a national destination place for dance. We presently reach into 6 different neighborhoods, bringing dance to residents in their own backyards, as well as offering workshops, classes, and interactive community performances with a goal to expand into as many neighborhoods as possible so that exceptional professional dance can be experienced in neighborhood parks free of charge by residents and families that otherwise cannot afford to see such excellence in a theater. Lastly, the festival is also committed to providing employment through performances to exceptional dance artists and companies from Ohio, as well as from outside the region, and indeed from all over the world, who are committed to presenting popular as well as new and innovative work of the highest caliber. We are an important platform for them to create and present new work and allow for master world choreographers as well as marginalized voices to be heard. And we thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or? Mr. Hanna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You mentioned that you have 6 areas in the city, in the neighborhood that you dance. Could you provide those 6 areas for me, please?
Yes, I can. Let's see, wrote down our things. Let's see, Forest, we perform, our company's Ohio Contemporary Ballet this year will perform at Forest Lodge Park. Groundworks Dance Theater, along with other guests this year for our 50th, performs in Firestone Park. Dayton Contemporary Dance Company from Dayton is going to perform in Goodyear Metro Parks. And Inlet Dance Theater will be downtown at the Art Museum. Let's see, we are going to have yoga classes at all 3 parks. And our community centers will be this year at Mason Park and Joy Park, and we are hoping, and I'm pretty sure we'll be at Kenmore Community Center as well.
So you don't have that dance group there at Joy Park, Mason, or did you just say they was going to be doing yogurt?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
What did you say that they were going to be doing? Are these dance groups going to be dancing at Mason Park, Joy Park?
Yep, I understand. I'll be more specific. Yes, Inlet Dance Theater goes into the community centers with a wonderful residency program that includes a collaboration they're doing with Japo Cultural Arts Institute, which is Western Ghanaian dance, as well as Pacific Paradise Entertainment, which is Polynesian dance. And they combine them all together with European modern dance. and they focus on similarities, dissimilarities, and get everybody involved. It's an interactive program. Those are the things that happen at the community centers. We try and tailor what we do depending on the space. So for example, the 3 performances in the parks on Friday and Saturday night are in parks that can sustain, that have room for our very large stage and for an audience and parking and so forth. But we also, the art museum we added last year, we are in the park, or their, I'm sorry, not park, their garden right there at the art museum. And then the community centers are another way that we can reach people. So we try to find, there are many different layers of how dancers can perform and how they can reach people, whether it's interactive or simply performative, all the way from the very large stage right to one-on-one in a community center. Does that help? Yes. Okay.
My concern is that the dance groups, they're not in areas where the inner city might be able to take advantage of watching the dancers on stage. And some of the inner city youth, that would be a plus for them to actually see those dancers, ballet dancers. And so
Absolutely.
This coming year, in July the 16th, Morgan Park will be opening, and they have a large area there that perhaps you could bring that group there, and we would be able to, you would be able to provide the same kind of dancers in Firestone and Goodyear that you would, that we would have at Morgan Park.
Absolutely, and we are always, that's our goal, is to get into as many neighborhoods as possible. And we are also looking in Summit Lake area, where you have mentioned is an area. Absolutely, those are all things that we would be happy to do, and we want to do. That's the idea, is to expand it everywhere, and especially where we have underserved.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. Good comments, Mr. Hanna. Absolutely. And congratulations. 50 years is quite a milestone, and we so appreciate it here in the city of Akron. It's been amazing over the years to watch the growth and the partnership with regards to the city of Akron and how we've been able to expose folks to the arts altogether, and including this. And there is, and Mr. Han, I'll tell you this, and I'd be happy to work with you on this, but it does take some effort in terms of electric, in terms of the
yes.
infrastructure
Yes.
is huge. And I remember a young council person way back when, working with the Public Service Department and the Recreation Bureau and everyone else to make sure that Goodyear Heights area was included at the time, because it wasn't just a matter of just putting it there.
Right.
There was a lot of infrastructure that was required, and I do recall that. But that goal for next year, I think, is a good one, and I'm happy to work with you on that.
We also, and it's online, hopefully, with, as you say, it's costly to go and erect that stage with sound, plug into power, all of that. But that's because we want to do it. We want to bring the highest quality that we can to our people, and we do, outside in an informal atmosphere for free. So yes, that is very important. And next year we have something in the works with Pilabolus. I don't know if any of you know dance, then if you do, or even a Nike commercial from years ago where the people rolled in and made different shapes, that was Pilabolus. They are the precursors of Cirque du Soleil, and they very much, I don't think all of you, actually, I don't think you know, and you need to know this, that in the dance world, the national and the international dance world, you're famous. Akron is well known. Pilabolus came to me, and of course I love them. I danced their ballets years ago, but they came to me and said, "You really go into neighborhoods You go deeply into neighborhoods and work with them and perform, because this is them. I mean, they're totally outside of the box with everything that they do. And I said, yes, we do. And they say, we want to come there. And I was floored. They cut their fee in half, and it's exorbitant, you know. But that kind of thing, I think you ought to all know, because you really are, our city, we really are special to the dance community for what we do. And I mean nationally and internationally. So, thank you.
Yes, and Jane Starsman, it's a big part, is you and your commitment to the community here. I know you've been at this for some time now, but, and we are so blessed here in Akron to have assets like this that we can offer our residents and others. So it's a blessing.
Well, thank you. And it's unusual to be a destination place for something like that. I mean, everybody doesn't like dance, like everybody doesn't like football. I get it, but it's really quite something. So thank you.
Mr. Lash.
Yes, I just want to thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to acknowledge the comments shared by Councilman Hannah. These are real productions, and based on your comments, I agree with you, and we can endeavor to work with Ms. Startzman to put something like that on in one of these neighborhoods, adding a production, but we're going to need your help. So if you are willing, I will work with her to make that happen. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Lash, what's your pleasure?
Suspension of the rules is fine.
May I have a motion for suspension of the rules?
I'll make that motion to suspend the
Have a
rules.
second? Second. Thank you so much. With that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Sarah didn't yell at me, so I guess I don't have to yet. I just wait for Sarah to yell at me.
Yes, and I can tell you a little bit more, because the agency director, Steve Minnick,
There she's gonna
become temporary there.
Here it comes.
Too, so we're on it, I promise.
I'm so sorry, before the committee adjourns, could you take a vote on that final piece? I believe we only had a motion and a second.
May we have a vote on the suspension of the rules? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Our next committee is the Rules Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Davis, and we'll get started in just a moment. Thank you. Our next committee again is the Rules Committee. Those committee members again are McKittrick, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Davis. Looks like we do have all members present. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I'd like to call the Rules Committee to order, and if I could get a motion to accept our previous minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Okay, we have one piece to come before us today. It's an ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title IX General Provisions, Chapter 106, Prohibition of Conversion Therapy on Minors, Section 106.03 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron, in order to impose a first-degree misdemeanor penalty for the commission of the offense of conversion therapy on minors and declaring an emergency. Okay, I see we have several people who are with us today. Who's going to present?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. We have a number of guests with us, as you mentioned, so I'm very glad to welcome the chairperson of the Akron Civil Rights Commission, Ellen Nisht, who is familiar to many members of the council. And then Kirsten Smith is here from the Law Department, Craig Morgan as our city prosecutor. So I will hand over to them to do the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This amendment alters only the enforcement and penalty component of the conversion therapy ordinance. We enacted this back in 2022, and it prohibits the practice of efforts by healthcare professionals to change or alter a minor's sexual orientation or gender identity. As it was enacted, the Akron Civil Rights Commission was charged and tasked with kind of enforcing and investigating complaints of conversion therapy. And under the proposed amendment, it will impose a criminal penalty of a first-degree misdemeanor, and our law enforcement and prosecutor's office will be tasked with enforcement of the conversion therapy ordinance.
Okay, very good. Mr. Morgan, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Just by reference, I've already spoken to the captain that oversees the Detective Bureau, the lieutenant who oversees the Juvenile Division of the Detective Bureau. That is certainly where any type of investigation of this nature would land. They're familiar with it, they're aware of it, and I look forward to working with them if there's any incidences of said behavior. I think it gives us from the city's perspective a valuable enforcement mechanism here to be able to address this with criminal penalties.
Okay, very good. Ms. Nish, do you have anything to add at all?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just bring the support of the Akron Civil Rights Commission for this change. We worked closely with the Law Department last year, I believe it was, then Chair Esther Thomas, to examine what other cities were doing. I know this is the model that Columbus and Cleveland follow, and that the ACRC is very supportive of this modification.
Okay, thanks very much. It's great to have you back in chambers as well. Do we have any questions by any committee members? Any other council members? Okay, what?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. I
Oh,
can see
I'm sorry.
Councilwoman.
I'm sorry.
Mogan.
Councilwoman Mogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just curious if someone could talk to this. How would we anticipate receiving complaints, or have we received any in the past?
Thanks, Councilwoman Obing. I can speak to that we have not received a complaint of this nature to date, but I think prosecutor might be able to answer how it would be handled.
Yeah, I think this could come in a variety of ways, Councilwoman. It could be as simple as an incident report to the Akron Police Department or direct communication to my office. And then, of course, if they communicated with my office, if a complaint came into my office, I would certainly refer to the Detective Bureau for further investigation. But I think there's a couple different avenues in which a complaint of this nature would come onto our radar.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Any other questions, Councilwoman?
No other questions. I'd just like to have my name added to this, please.
All right.
All right.
So basically, this is just cleaning up a little bit of the original amendment to make things a little tighter and more efficient.
That's correct. Only in the enforcement and penalty is changed.
Yes.
The remainder is
Okay.
as it was enacted in 2022.
All right, very good. We have any other questions by any council members at all? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to have my name added too. This is DeShazier.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And what's your pleasure?
Consent agenda, please.
Okay, can I get a motion for consent agenda?
Consent.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And with nothing further to come before us, the Rules Committee will be adjourned.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Hardy, Lombardo. We'll get started in just a moment here. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Again, we're going to get started with public service here. I do want to bring to the committee's attention that item number 11 did get an updated piece. Our deputy clerk emailed that out to all of council. If you're using on your iPad, you may need to press the reload button to see the updated piece. The wording changed a little bit in the title clause, but we are ready whenever you are, Mr. Chair. You have all committee members present except for Councilman Hardy.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. Yeah, let's call the public service meetings to order. We did hold a meeting last week. Can I get approval of those minutes, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. I do see we have Chris Luttle in front of us today. Sarah, since I'm not in person, could you read in the resolutions and legislation starting with number 7, please?
Sure. Number 7 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts for construction management services for the sanitary sewer reconstruction 2023 lining and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes. This will be the first year where we haven't had 2 different projects. We used to do a small diameter, up to 15-inch sanitary sewer reconstruction and lining. Then we would do a project 18-inch and above. Our CMOM program, we're getting well ahead of the game, so this is all going to be wrapped into one project. The legislation before you, sir, or council members is to hire a construction manager. We are currently advertising for that on Bonfire. Once we get those proposals, and then this will allow us to hire the construction manager. One thing important too on this project, we are currently lining the Springfield outlet trunk line sewer, and we're doing that with in-house staff. So we will do a little bit of a hybrid where we will have some city staff on this project also. So with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions from committee members? In chambers, I don't see anyone. Online? Anyone? All right. Chris, is consent okay on this one?
Yes, sir.
Committee?
Motion for consent?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Sarah, could you read an 8, please?
Number 8 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Arcadis US, Inc. for professional engineering services to provide a risk and resilience assessment and subsequent update to the emergency response plan and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of committee. In 2018, Arcadis performed this risk assessment for us where they look at our total water system, especially the water plant. And they look at those items, for example, our generator capacity. Does it have full generator capacity to take over in the event of a power loss from shore power? It looks at our emergency connections throughout our system in the event we'd have a large water main break. Some of the other items they look at is our pump stations. They look at all of our high-risk assessments, and then they make recommendations. This is mandated by the EPA, Ohio EPA. We submit this assessment to the EPA, and we make those necessary, whether they're a repair or replacement from this assessment. So with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Committee members, any questions, comments? Anyone online with us? All right. Is consent okay on this one, Chris?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks. Committee?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. 9, please, Sarah.
Item number 9 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts to replace lead service lines throughout Akron and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, this is a $12 million project, and we applied for principal forgiveness through the Ohio EPA. So what that means is out of the $12 million, 53% of these funding will be forgiven through the loan. So we'll be responsible for 47% of this, which is a 40-year loan at 0% interest through the WSLRA loan program through the state. What this project is going to do for us is we're going to roughly replace 1,500 of the remaining active lead services that are serving occupied homes in the city. This will eradicate all the homes that are occupied, this project. Now, it is going to take till the end of 25 to get this done, but I think Akron could be very proud of being able to accomplish this. If you've recently looked at some of these lead service articles and funding that they're doing through the federal government, through each state, there's some cities, and some of them are a lot larger, but they have hundreds of thousands of these active services still. So this credit goes back to the 60s when the people in the water department decided if the homeowner replaced their side or their private side, the city would go and do the street side. Or when we did a CD project in the 90s and we replaced water mains, some of you are old enough to remember that, we went ahead and took out all the lead services at the time. So this is really important project. We are going to break this up in 3 different contracts. So 3 contractors will have a chance to be awarded this, which will be a nice project. And they're working all 10 wards. I mean, now some Some of the parts of the city has very few left and some have more, but this will take care of all the lead services in Akron. So with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. I see Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to probably state something for the record. So 1,500 lead services out of the 2,000 remaining. That's pretty good, right? We have about 2,000 remaining.
We had about 2,000, but we have existing contracts currently that we're taking out those lead services. So with what we have under contract currently, and with this piece of legislation, that will eradicate all the lead services that are in an occupied home. Now, there still could be some lead services out there that go to a vacant parcel, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Those will be taken out maybe before we resurface that street, or when we do a water main project. But one thing that won't happen, Councilman, if someone purchases that lot and they build a house, they will not connect to that lead service. It will be taken out at that time.
Okay, that's good.
Yep.
And that brings up my second point, and I just, again, for the record, obviously you look at the lead services that need replaced before the street paving list comes out, right? Because we don't want to pave and then dig it up. So I just wanted to, that's good, obviously. I just wanted to state that for the record. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good questions. Anyone else? I don't see anyone else. Is this something you would like suspension of the rules, Chris?
Could we, sir, so we can get this project going? Yes.
Motion for suspension of the rules with the favorable report.
Second.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Sarah, can you read in number 10, please?
Item number 10 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to apply for and, if awarded, accept and expend funds for the Safe Streets for All federal funding program and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, this is a grant application that Safe Streets for All, and part of this grant application that we will be requesting funding for is one down on Akron Peninsula Road with a couple of new residential developments. This will be 4,700 feet on Akron Peninsula Road where there's currently no sidewalks. And what it'll be is a multi-purpose trail on AP Road. So it's going to be at the bottom of Portage Trail Extension extending north to basically what we have, that kind of jig jogs all the way through there between us and Falls, but it's the Akron Corp line. It's that last Timber Ridge Apartments on the right, right before the wastewater plant. The other funding we're going to be looking for is to extend sidewalks on Portage Trail Extension. We've recently had legislation brought before you that we were going to be about halfway down the hill, all the way down to the bottom where it will connect to the sidewalks on Portage Trail Extension. The funding of this would take that project where it's currently ending and take it up the hill all the way to Northampton Road, which that would serve the entire timber top housing allotment. Because currently, as we talked previously, people are walking down that hill and on the side of the road, and it's very unsafe, especially when you have children. And the others are, there's high crash districts that we have identified through AMATs, and this will not only help with those districts, and just to name a few is Lover Lane, Cole, Arlington, Archwood, Kelly, Arlington Road, Maple Copley Corridor, and between Diagonal and Exchange. So all these districts have been designated as high crash districts. So this will improve the mobility, whether it's connecting gaps in sidewalks, crosswalks, signage, that type of thing. So obviously we're asking, for $3 million of federal funding. We are gathering letters of support from our partners and other community members. So this legislation, I would ask for suspension of the rules so we could enter this piece of legislation in our grant application. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Committee members, any questions or comments? I don't see anyone. Anyone else? All right, Councilman Fusco.
Thank you. Just curious, you'd mentioned those other areas as well. and certainly recognize and appreciate the commitment to that area in Ward 1 there on Portage there. But can we get maps or whatever of the other areas
We
for
can.
the folks, the ward folks?
Yep. And I'll get you a map of the multi-use trail, too. I'll send everything to Sarah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? I see Councilman DeShazer.
Yes, I hope you can hear me. Mr. Little, if you could give me that, I'd like to share that with my constituents. We're going to have a talk about this in about a week, and I thought it would be great if those maps were something that we could distribute.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you. Good question. Anyone else? All right. I do know Chris said he would like suspension of the rules. Committee?
Yes, sir.
Motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of suspension of the rules? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you. Moving on to our final piece. Sarah, please.
Item number 11 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to apply for and, if awarded, accept and expend funds for the grant agreement with Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for the replacement of the beacon, decoupling of Taxiway B, replacement of the wind cone, and remarking of runway 7 to 25 at the Akron Fulton Airport, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. This is another grant application that we've put together. We will be submitting it to ODOT. These FAA ODOT / agreements or grant applications, they're 95.5. So this project we put together is about 1.1 million. The city were responsible for about 55,000 of that. And as mentioned in the legislation, the four things that we would like to do with this funding is, one is replace the wing cone, which is on the far east end of the airport down by the skate park. It's kind of a standalone that they use. The others are decoupling runway B. That is on the far west end, the southwest corner, down by our reworks facility, Recycle. You could actually, if you know what you're doing, drive through, drive around, and you could actually drive onto the runway. No one really does that, but this is something we've wanted to do for a long time, is we'd go in there, remove that pavement to not allow anybody that got through the one construction fence to get onto the runway. The other two is to restripe the main runway, which is 725. It's been about 4 years since that's been done. And then the other project is to replace the beacon on the air dock. That is in the agreement with LTA. They do have to change that beacon as it burns out or malfunctions. So we'd like to upgrade that beacon to LED to extend the life of that bulb on there. So those are the four projects. This is a grant agreement. Consent is fine, sir, and I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Committee members, any questions or comments for Chris? I don't see any. Any other council members? All right. Chris is okay with consent, committee?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone. I believe that was our final piece, and nothing come before us. We are adjourned.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hanna, and Davis. Do have all members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Sarah. I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order. Could I get a motion to accept our previous minutes?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have one piece to come before us. It's an ordinance that's authorizing the purchasing agent, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts to purchase approved ballistic plates for the Akron Police SWAT team and declaring an emergency. Captain McCosy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. This is a piece to replace some equipment for our SWAT team. We're in need to do this quite quickly. Normally, we do 8 sets of this body armor each year. This allows us to rotate the equipment at the appropriate time. There's a warranty there for 5 years, and so that allows us to do that. In this case, what we need to do is replace all the ballistic plates. Typically, these plates are warranted for 10 years, and so we rotate them for 5 years, and then we have a 5-year dead period, and then we're able to do them again. In this case, we need to replace them all. We became a part of a bigger investigation. We were notified by the Department of Homeland Security that the plates that we had were some of those plates that were found to be counterfeit. And so as a result of that, we need to replace them. We are cooperating with the Department of Homeland Security in their investigation, and somewhere down the line there may be an opportunity for restitution on this. So we will be pursuing that, and we'll be following it very closely. But in the meantime, in order to keep our high-risk operations operators safe, we need to replace these plates.
Okay, so these aren't the entire, all the vests that we have for all the staff. It's for specifically SWAT then?
This is specifically for SWAT, for high-risk operations. The normal body armor that we have day-to-day, that is all fine. This is just for those moments where they're in the highest risk situations where they need the most protection. And these are this is not just the soft body armor that we're talking about. These are actually, you can't see them, they're tucked inside, but they're a hard ceramic type plate. And there's one on the front, one on the back, and one on each side to protect them from rifle rounds and more dangerous ordnance. And so those are the things that we're replacing with this request.
Okay, thanks, Captain. Do we have any questions from any committee members? Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you, Chair. Captain, so just how many plates, like you said, one in the front, one in the back, 2 on the sides. I'll just say that's a set.
Correct.
So how many sets does this cover?
40. This legislation will cover 40 sets of plates.
Okay.
It'll allow us to order these things in and get them in for the group, for the whole unit.
Makes sense. I was just
Unfortunately, this is not the way we plan it normally. We normally plan it, like I said, with this 5-year rotation where it's just a few at a time, but in this case, it's all of them.
Yeah, no, that's definitely worth it with their, like you said, high-risk operations.
Yes, sir. Yeah. These are the type of plates that stop rifle rounds. So they're the ones that it's directly for SWAT. These are not for just everybody. It's just for the SWAT group.
What would you say, just again out of curiosity, the average price is to outfit a person, an officer, SWAT officer?
For the SWAT team?
Yeah.
Sir, I'd have to get back to you on that. In this case, for instance, each one of these sets of plates is approximately $1,300.
Right.
And so that's for each one of them, and then
Yeah, that's the plate.
there's the,
Okay.
right. I could get you an answer if you'd like. It's
Okay. Whenever, it's okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman. Thanks, Captain. Any other committee members? Any other council members? Seeing none, you said time is of the essence here.
Yes, sir, I do ask for suspension of the rules if we can do that.
Can I get a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion to suspend the rules with a
Second.
favorable report.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that
Thank
out
you.
tonight.
Thank you all.
We have nothing else to come before us. Public safety will be adjourned. Thank you.
That's the next one or last one.
Our next committee of the day will be the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Fusco, Boys, and Hardy. Again, that's the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock. Our next committee of the day is the Budget and Finance Committee. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Fusco, Boyes, and Hardy. We do have all committee members present except for Councilman Fusco and Councilman Hardy, but you do have a quorum if you're ready to get started.
Okay. I know that, thank you for joining the Budget and Finance Committee. I just didn't know Fusco was here, Councilman Fusco. I don't know if he's just in his office and lost track of time, but we will get started since we have a quorum and we have some visitors here. But first wanted to read in the legislation. And this is...
Sure. Mr. Chair, could I have you approve the minutes of the previous meeting first?
That would be good, yes. Can I have a motion to approve the last week's minutes?
So moved.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Minutes are approved. So today we have one piece of legislation, and that is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Akron 200 Incorporated to support the preparation and planning events and programs for Akron's bicentennial celebration in 2025 and declaring an emergency. So with that, we have some guests here, and I know we welcome back the Executive Director of Akron 200. It's Mark Greer. Of course, we have Chief of Staff Nanette Pitt here, and Dave Lieberth is also here. So speaking first will be our Chief of Staff. Nanette, is that right?
Yep. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee and council members. Very pleased to be with you today. We're, of course, very excited about the bicentennial coming up next year. And I'm very glad to have our guests with us, and they're here to present a little on the planning thus far, and will be with us at council this evening too to make a presentation. So you have before you the budgeted amount for 2024 to support the bicentennial, with the request for funding in the amount of $250,000. And we are eager to support both Executive Director Greer and Bicentennial Executive Secretary Dave Lieberth as they plan for next year and put in place. These monies would support both the operations of their office and also the beginning stages of the events that we hope to enjoy and have the community enjoy next year. So with that, I will hand over to our guests.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members. Thanks very much for inviting us today and allowing us to tell you a little bit about what's been happening over these last 2 years. In 2022, is it a little closer?
Yeah.
In 2022, the mayor appointed a 30-member bicentennial commission. Ms. Boyes, in fact, is one of our members of the commission, as is Ms. Connor and also Council President Somerville. 30 members of the commission have met now 7 times, and we'll have an 8th meeting next week to oversee the planning for the 2025 celebration. It's worth noting that Akron's had great parties in the past. In 1925, during our centennial, we had 150,000 people line the streets for probably the grandest parade that Akron has ever had. In 1975, we began a couple of traditions. We had an international festival that year as part of the sesquicentennial, and that started the annual tradition of a food festival on the 4th of July, which continues 50 years later. In 2000, during the centiseptuagenary, the 175th anniversary, we had 30 events commemorating that event around the city, which was supported by the city of Akron. And now we're back. So about 2 years ago, I suggested to the administration that we needed to start preparing. There are a couple of activities that required a long lead time. One was the creation of a new Akron History Center. We're the only city in Ohio that has never had one place where all the history of Akron is told in one place at one time. And so that History Center is being built out right now today, even as we speak, at 172 South Main Street. In order to support that project, we've raised $1,900,000. Exhibits are being fabricated right now at workshops in Canal Fulton. We expect installation to occur in the coming 60 days. And as long as we continue to have good luck, good weather, and no obstacles to construction, it should be open sometime in August of this year. The second initiative that required some advance time was the publication of a new history of Akron. The University of Akron Press is publishing that anthology with 25 different authors, and all those chapters have now been written, and the editing and the vetting of those chapters is occurring now. The city did approve an earlier grant of $30,000 to the university to support that book project. And the third initiative is one that is especially necessary, and that is that we don't really have a curriculum for teaching Akron's history in the Akron Public Schools. We used to, and it went away for a while back, and so now the superintendent and the curriculum specialists have assembled a team of teachers that we are working with in order to create new digital materials so that by next year we will have an online presence for teachers in 3rd to 5th grades, in 6th through 9th grades, and then up to 11th grades with the teaching of Akron history. And the Akron History Center then becomes a focal point for that. We knew also that we were going to need to have special ceremonies and special events throughout the city to commemorate the 200th anniversary. And to that end, the Bicentennial Commission in November voted to create a new not-for-profit corporation called Akron 200 Inc., which will receive all funds and expend all monies, account for the same, and be able to apply to other sources for funding as well. Akron 200 employed Mark Greer as our executive director, and I'll leave it to Mark to explain what's on the planning books for the coming 18 months, I guess.
Thank you, Dave. So we are in what I call a full sprint towards the starting line, which is officially December 6, 2024, which will be the first day of Akron's 200th year. We are really looking forward to a year of engaging, inclusive events. We want this to be an intergenerational celebration for all of Akron, touching all of our neighborhoods, all of our communities, and really kickstarting the next 100 years and the next 200 years. And just as Dave mentioned about the 1925 centennial, we plan to make some significant history of our own with this 2025 bicentennial year. So in addition to having opening and closing ceremonies, we have a number of bicentennial signature events. We are planning to do a bicentennial bike-a-thon, for example. For those of you who remember that 20 years ago was the start of the LeBron James Foundation King for Kids bike-a-thon. We're going to be partnering with them and bringing that back, and also a citywide bike-a-thon that we're looking to touch all 24 official neighborhoods in Akron. In addition, we plan on having one of the best bicentennial parades that we've had in a while. Dave, I will just say, is the parade guru, and we are planning on having a wonderful parade July 5th, 2025. Along with that, I wanted to mention another tie back to our 1925 centennial. So in 1925, we had the Rodgers and Hart premiere of a musical called Dearest Enemy. It was the world premiere before it went on Broadway that was actually at the Palace Theater. So we are going to be bringing that back and doing a two-night, actually a one night and one Sunday matinee at the Akron Summit County Public Library. That's going to be at the end of June of 2025. We're going to be doing an outdoor drama in Waters Park. Councilman Lombardo, I think you will be highly proud of that. Katie Beck, who I know you know so well, is going to be leading that initiative. And then along with that, we're looking on touching all sectors of Akron. We will have events dealing with sports, from a 3-on-3 basketball tournament to a pickleball tournament, which I was not aware what a phenomenon pickleball is, but apparently it is something. So we'll be having that as well, but then also lots of events dealing with arts and culture and also the humanities. One of the series we look forward to having is the Forgotten History Forum, which we look on having one of those each month to keep the engagement of the bicentennial consistently going. And our goal is that this will not just be a one and done thing, but there will be opportunities for sustainable activities and initiatives going forward. So looking forward to the 2025 year. I also have to mention two other things, especially for our musically inclined members of council. We're going to be having a bicentennial chorus and a bicentennial marching band. So notice as I mentioned the bicentennial chorus, Councilwoman Amobi and I was kind of looking your way. So we'll be hoping to draft a lot of you into that, and we are going to really have a lot of opportunities to engage, again, all ages and all sectors of Akron.
One of the things that we've made a priority from the very beginning is to make certain that all 24 of Akron's neighborhoods have an opportunity to do two things. One is to have a celebratory event of their own within the neighborhood that will be funded in part with the monies that we are raising citywide. And secondly, a program of historic markers. Throughout every neighborhood, there are people who lived there of great fame, who had an impact on America. There are events that occurred there that were historic, and they are basically unknown to many of the neighbors very often. And so one of the initiatives that Mark is spearheading now will allow us to put historic markers in the right-of-way, pedestrian-level signs, so that people, as they walk through their neighborhoods or bike through their neighborhoods, will know that an important person lived here who had a historic impact, or there was an event that was important. And one of the other things that Councilwoman Boyes suggested to us that we have done before in in 2000 and in the centennial of Firestone Park is that we do interviews with older residents, and we will collaborate with the Akron Summit County Public Library Special Collections Division to create and collect oral histories and photographs of neighborhoods so that there can be an archive that will last long beyond the bicentennial itself.
That's awesome. I feel like I'm ready to party. Wow, I have so many comments that I just don't want to reiterate everything you said, but if anybody knows Akron's history, they've got the right guys here for the job. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, it's just amazing. We don't teach like Akron history in the Akron Public Schools. So that really struck me that is going to be awesome.
There are some teachers who do the best they can.
Mm-hmm.
When I asked the curriculum specialist, well, how do they teach it? And the curriculum specialist told me, the teachers, when motivated, go online, they get the materials that are readily available online, but there is no organization to it. There's no curriculum, for example, teaching third graders at one level, seventh graders at another level, 11th graders at a higher level, and now that's going to change.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So I don't want to take up all the time. I want to open it up to other committee members, and with any questions or comments, Councilwoman Linda Amobian.
Well, I certainly feel the same way you do, Phil. I'm ready to start partying. I mean, it sounds like you have events for everybody and every group that you could think of, which is fantastic. I love the fact that you're going to have these neighborhood markers, because every community can name a person that lived in their community, because I think about Ward 5, and I think about the singer that we named the street after.
James Ingram.
Thank you, thank you. And honest to goodness, I can imagine people, wanting to, and, Mr. Minson, is historic in that area, and Miss Ethel Chambers over here by Grace Parks, all the work she did before she passed. I mean, there's so many things I could think of that we can start talking about, and I just really appreciate the work that you've already done. I guess if we think of anything, I guess we'll let you know, but I'm sure David has it all covered with his photogenic memory. So thank you so much for the work. It just sounds like it's going to be fantastic. And you've already raised $9.5 million?
That's for the Akron History Center alone.
Okay.
That money is separate from, it's a separate corporation that we create a separate nonprofit, and we'll use all of those funds to create these exhibits. The Akron History Center, when it is open later this summer, will be operated by the Akron Summit County Public Library.
Okay.
That is how we can sustain it for many years to come, by not burdening either the Historical Society, which doesn't have the capacity to do it, or the city, which would have to create capacity if it were going to do it. The library Special Collections Division already employs 5 full-time historians on its staff, and so they're specially equipped to handle it on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis.
And it's on Main Street.
172 South Main. It's 2 doors up from the night stage and the Civic Theater.
Okay.
And there's work going on there right now.
Great.
The painters are in there today.
Oh, fantastic.
I always gauge things as far as how far away is it from the peanut shop, which is 203.
Across the street.
203 South Main.
Yeah. Which is a historic space in and of itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to the night stage, but, we need to know where it is from the peanut shop. Councilman Fusco.
Yeah, welcome. Mark, you must have heard me sing before. You didn't glance my way when it came to the chorus, so it's okay.
Everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing. You must have heard me. That's why you glanced toward Linda. It's all good. All good. I'm teasing. Of course. Aside from the legislation, what can we do as council to assist and ensure, aside again from this ordinance, what can we do to help?
Well, one of the things I was going to be engaging all of our members of council, we are doing a bicentennial magazine. Live Publishing will be putting out a magazine, and as part of that magazine, which is going to be probably around 80 pages or so, as part of that magazine, we're going to be doing neighborhood histories on all 24 official neighborhoods, and also some of our legacy neighborhoods as well. Think Maple Valley, Temple Square, Grant, Washington, and so on. And I'm looking to engage all of you because we're looking to interview people from those neighborhoods, even if they don't live there currently, and kind of get that firsthand accounting of what it was like growing up in those neighborhoods, how things have changed, what they're looking forward to also seeing in the future. And so I will certainly be reaching out to all of you, and if you can point me to anyone who you would like us to reach out to, that would be very helpful.
Great, thank you. Anyone else with any comments or questions? Our Chief of Strategy, I'm sorry, I said Chief of Staff. Is it Councilwoman, go ahead, Sharon Connor.
Thank you both for coming. The Bicentennial Committee is amazing. Dave has assembled a huge group to put this together, and all of his work has just been spectacular. So looking forward to the museum opening, and certainly any help in the neighborhood that I can offer. It's there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Just wanted to say, Chairman, if it is the committee's pleasure, we would want to keep this group working speedily on our behalf, and so would ask for suspension of the rules if possible.
Very good, very good. Can I get a motion? Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. I think the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you at 6:30 Just a point of clarification from maybe our clerk. I know at 6:30 we have comments. Are they part of the comments, or is it they're just going to start?
No, it will not be part of the public comment period.
Good, because you need more than 3 minutes to let everybody know these things. So other than that, this meeting is adjourned. We'll see you in 3 hours. All right, awesome.
That is the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet in special session at 5 o'clock. Thank you.